Hello, once again. Martin Popoff here, back for a solo show, regular edition of the Contrarians. This is the show, or the concept of our show. We have a few other concepts. This is the regular concept of the show, the original, where one of us on the team has a favorite album pick by a certain band that is perhaps not the most, the most beloved pick, the most popular pick when you see the polls in terms of favorites by that band. So this week, we are going to be looking at Pat Travers and the Pat Travers Band. This guy right here. Take a look at that. Radioactive World Tour 81. There you go. So Pat Travers. So essentially, Pat Travers, little history of the band. He's a Canadian guitarist from Ottawa, but for a long time he's lived in Florida. He did kind of what Neil Peart did at one point and moved to London, and Jimi Hendrix, of course, before him, moved to London to try kind of make it over there. Things didn't work out that great, and then he ends up back in North America. A long-time polygram artist, essentially a guitar hero and a lead singer of the band. The band in the early days sounded a little bit like Foghat. I'd say even Pat's voice sounds a little bit like Lonesome Dave Peverett, right? But it's he's a bluesy, funky, hard rocking guitar guy. First album, Pat Travers, Making Magic, Putting It Straight, Heat in the Street, Crash and Burn. The big live album is in there. That the Go For What You Know, that was a big album. And then things kind of waned through the 80s. He eventually lost his major deals and ended up with, I would say by the time you get to 1990, he had this album here. Let's just do a little quick show and tell with the vinyl, I suppose. So there's the debut. We've got Making Magic. Okay. Looks a lot like George Thorogood. I remember as a kid, I used to kind of get the guys mixed up, because kind of a similar world as well. There's Putting It Straight with the blown up shop after the front and back thing that he kind of got into a little bit, right? There's your Heat in the Street. We've got, there's the big Go For What You Know live album with the apocryphal live shots on the back, the outdoor thing, Tommy Aldridge drumming away, right? It's kind of a big hit album for him, very groovy, very funky. Crash and Burn, quite an underrated album. More outdoor live shots on the back of that one. Mars Cowling, rest in peace. Great bass player. Radioactive. As we move on, essentially, where's my CDs that I had? So yeah, just to sort of continue the history from about 1990 through to 2010, he had like about 20 albums out of various types. Most of them weren't, bona fide normal Pat Travers albums. Almost all of them. Some were blues, some were live, some were compilations. But he had lots of material that came out, kind of confused a lot of people. But when you get to the recent days, his most relevant recent albums are Fidelis, which is this one here, which I really love. This is a super underrated album, 2010. Then he had Can Do, 2013, Retro Rocket. His latest one is an album of swing songs. So he's done a lot of pretty odd stuff throughout the years. Like I say, a lot of bluesy albums and a lot of live material. Been part of other projects, Travers and Appice, that kind of thing. But yeah, in terms of later years, check out Retro Rocket and Fidelis and Can Do. There's a lot of good material on that because he's kind of back to, what made him big at the time. So there's Pat Travers in a nutshell. Not a single gold album in the whole bunch. Very beloved guy. Like I say, Tommy Aldridge got his start there. His previous start, of course, was Black Oak, Arkansas, but then he did this, and then Tommy Aldridge goes on to play with all sorts of big 80s rock stars, right? Whitesnake, Ozzy Osbourne, etc. But yeah, he had, well, actually Nico McBrain too is the other footnote in this. You may know him as the drummer of Iron Maiden. Well, he was also, Putting It Straight. He's in there on Life in London, really cool technical metal song. So yeah, there's Pat Travers. He's kind of like a quintessential classic 70s hard classic rocker with funkiness and blues. He's the vocalist. There's a bit of jazziness, some ballads. They get into a little reggae along the way. All right, so my pick here, because like I say, this is a regular Contrarians where I'm telling you my favorite Pat Travers album, and it may not be one of the popular choices. I definitely think that's the case here. It is this one right here, Black Pearl, 1982. What I love about this record, first of all, it's got my favorite hands down Pat Travers song of all time in the opening track, I La 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 Love You, with that great syncopated rhythm. I couldn't find it. I was going to flash it here, but I did a transcription of the drum part in that because I loved it so much. I also did a transcription of Heat in the Street that I did find. But yeah, so we've got my favorite song of all time by Pat. I'd Rather See You Dead. I totally love as well. Stand Up is great. Who'll Take the Fall. So all of side one. What I like about this record is it seems like after Radioactive, which was a little bit of a kind of a casual, not greatly recorded. Pat was in a bad space with booze and coke and stuff like that. It's a little bit of a strange album, although it's got a lot of songs I really love on it. But it was kind of the downfall after the trilogy of the red, orange, and yellow albums, right? The live album with Crash and Burn and with Heat in the Street. So what I like about this album is the band has changed a little, and it's also a very kind of like a try harder album. It sounds like a really mature, well thought out, well put together record where the production is amazing. It's self-produced by Pat. But yeah, I like this idea of, Pat Travers apostrophe Black Pearl. And it's kind of the name, it's kind of a self-titled album by Pat Travers Black Pearl in a way, rather than a Pat Travers band album, because on the back you see we've got Pat Travers, and then he says Black Pearl is Peter Mars Cowling, Don Harris on keyboards, and Sandy Gennaro. What a great drummer. Pat came through with him again. He got reunited with Sandy and came through, and they put on a fantastic show here in Toronto. Got to meet these guys. Obviously, it's now signed by Sandy and Pat. So I love the idea of the concept of this album as being almost his first super grown-up album. Like, it just reminds me of, and then most of the later albums are not like this again. This is just kind of like mature, not showy, classy, like that album cover. So the last track on side one is the fifth, which is him doing his Ritchie Blackmore thing where, he's covering Beethoven. It's Beethoven's fifth. But here again, like, this is really bizarre that this is true, but he covers Misty Morning on here by Bob Marley, and I swear to God, it's also way up there in my favorite Pat Travers songs. Can't Stop the Heartaches, I really like. It falls off a little bit with Am Gonna Kick Booty, which is an instrumental, and Rockin'. So the last couple of tracks I'm not as crazy about, but Rockin' is heavy as well. But yeah, just love the production and just love the whole conceptual feel of this as a serious record by a serious artist. And if I can recommend anything to you, I mean, go listen to that I La La Love You track. It just should have been a smash single. It just has single written all over it, but it's heavy and complicated and kind of proggy and cool with these little kind of pregnant pauses in the rhythm. So that's my pick, is the favorite Pat Travers album of me. Actually, here's a kind of a neat thing to show you as well. This is a 12-inch radio single of none other than that song, I La 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 Love You. And the other side is I'd Rather See You Dead, another great kind of semi up-tempo R&B ballad thing that, on paper I shouldn't like, but I actually do like it. I think it's a really cool song. So there's that. And then here's a neat little promo item too. The Pat Travers You Missed mini album. So that's a little strange promo thing. There you go. So the choice, really. I looked around a little. This is the part where we tell you what the sober choice is, what people normally pick as the favorite Pat Travers album. And I also went, my good buddy Pete Pardo at Sea of Tranquility. I watched his ranking of his favorite top 10 Pat Travers albums. And then I read his comments, because he gets lots of comments there as well. And that was a really good indication of what people were picking. And it was kind of no surprise. Pete picked this as the greatest Pat Travers album, and Pete's smarter than me, so he probably knows what he's talking about. That's why my choice is Contrarian. Heat in the Street is the one that pretty much usually wins as favorite Pat Travers album. And honestly, this is my second favorite by a pretty close margin. I love the track Heat in the Street. Again, that's way up in my favorite songs, along with Go All Night. Hammerhead's a great instrumental on here. Evie is really cool. But I really realized playing this again, Killer's Instinct, even though it's super heavy, I'm not a big fan. I was never a big fan of I Tried to Believe, or One for Me and One for You, or Prelude. So that's quite a few tracks. And I've noticed that when I kind of went through to make sure about this Black Pearl pick, that I went through the albums and realized that I absolutely love to death maybe a little under half or about half of every Pat Travers album. And then I like a few more songs. So I'm really on board all the way to about that 4/7, 2/3 sort of feel, 5/8. So for that reason, Black Pearl did all right as well, because again, there were a few tracks there I'm not crazy about, but that kind of is the case with all of them, including this one, which is your big pick. Now, the other ones that kind of make the grade, not Radioactive, Crash and Burn kind of makes the grade a little bit. And I actually like this album quite a bit as well, even though it's a little bit mellow. I love Can't Be Right, one of my favorites. Crash and Burn, a Pat Travers original reggae, is a great song as well. And then this has, of course, Snortin' Whiskey, which is, was his big heavy hit of the day. So this is a pretty good album too. Love Will Make You Stronger there. The live album, if you can pick live albums, we usually leave that out for this. And then the other one that kind of makes the grade quite often is Putting It Straight. So that's kind of his golden period, right? That whole 77 through to about 1979, 76 through 79 period is golden period Pat Travers. So I do understand, I've for years often thought Heat in the Street, Black Pearl were always pretty close, but my brain tells me it's got to be Heat in the Street, but my heart tells me it's Black Pearl, because I've just always loved that whole, people aren't really paying attention to Pat Travers anymore, but he's still trying really hard and crafting this really thoughtful, mature record, even though no one is watching anymore, essentially. I mean, I don't remember really hearing anything off of that on the radio at the time. It was kind of over for him at that point. So that's too bad. But one other thing I wanted to mention here, at Zunior.com, I started doing these top 20 songs by certain bands. And I did, and I do a full write-up of them. I go 20 all the way up to number 1. And I did like Foghat, Zeppelin. I think I did Derringer. But I did Pat Travers. Anyways, Budgie, Babies. Did I do Blackfoot too? Did I go through all the bees? Anyways, those are 99 cents over there. They're just an ebook, but I did do one for Pat Travers. So I just wanted to rattle off what my favorite Pat Travers songs were in order. So 20 I had I Gotta Fight, Feeling in Love, Women on the Edge of Love, Night into Day. There's a big representation there from the Hot Shot album, from this album, which I never really liked the production of, and I didn't like the heavy hit off of here, which was Killer. But I love these ones that I really like when Pat does that up-tempo melodic hard rock song, and that's got a few of these on here. Like I say, Women on the Edge of Love, In the Heat of the Night, Louise, Night into Day. So this is really oddly quite high up my list of favorite Pat Travers albums as well. And again, he's doing the front back thing, right? There he is with the living it up, the good life. And there's the real reality, right, of what it's like to be a rock and roller when the spotlight isn't on you anymore, right? So then I had Making Magic, great early heavy one. Ask Me Baby off of Fidelis, which is a great later one. Tonight, In the Heat of the Night, Getting Better, into his kind of signature funky stage. Then I Fall, Stand Up, Snortin' Whiskey, the big hit. Life in London, the heavy technical hit from Putting It Straight. My Life is on the Line from Radioactive. I'd Rather See You Dead. Again, representation here from Black Pearl. Go All Night is just, you got to love that song. It's not the heaviest Pat Travers song, and it's even funky and a little disco-y, but it's just so well done and so groovy and well put together. You got to love it. Heat in the Street is, of course, is the drop dead kind of classic of the Golden Period album. And Your Love Can't Be Right off of Crash and Burn, the second heaviest song off of Crash and Burn. Just a really cool elliptical guitar riff on that. And then absolutely, like I say, my number one, I La 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 Love You. Go check out that song. It's such a cool track. So there you go. There's a regular Contrarian solo show for you, Pat Travers. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Support us on Patreon if you can. We have a fair bit of exclusive Patreon content there, and we're always trying to do more there. And we've actually got the guys together, and we've done Zoom shows. And one of ours, with a lot of views, is actually one of those Zoom shows we did, which was kind of cool. So you could check that out. But yeah, Patreon, comment below. There you go. Go play some Pat Travers.
That's it, dude.